comments and join me in the pledge of allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have no changes.
And we'll just go right to the very first one, which is the Smith Museum. Can someone give a brief for the audience in the county?
Yes, as it's been publicized and county's involvement with taking over ownership of the Schmink Museum from the Daughters of the American Revolution, they have provided funds for us to do some significant repairs and maintenance ongoing for the next several years. So this resolution required a supplemental budget and a public hearing. That notification has been in the paper. Today we have a 9 o'clock hearing to allow for public comment before adopting the resolution to bring in the funds to make the capital improvements and materials and services maintenance needs that are required. You'll see that this resolution is not the total amount of funding that we got from the DAR. This is just the amount of funding that we know that we will need to expend for this fiscal year. The following budget will include a reserve and more dollars from the DAR when we adopt that budget.
Well, before we open a hearing, what is all the maintenance required that we're addressing?
There's going to be a heat pump, heat exchanger put in, there will be new carpet put in, there will be a sprinkler system put in, the sprinkler timer system, I'm sorry.
Well, for the lawn, not for the merchandise.
Right, and there's some painting, handrail, other general maintenance that goes along, and Commissioner, I'm probably missing a thing or two, but it's all the things that were agreed upon and got quotes before counter ownership, and everybody's been notified to proceed.
Okay, good. And the money is not county general funds, it's money from the DAR.
Correct.
And I'll open a hearing for anyone that have any comments. And I'll just leave it open for a while. Okay. Thanks, Ann.
On another note, with the mental health services now being provided by Lake District Hospital, we are in the process of transferring the funds to the hospital. So tomorrow I'll have a resolution to add to the agenda for the well, I'm not gonna say it's the final transfer, but to allow for our budget to handle more materials and services on that contract payment than what we budgeted. We're not gonna have any salaries. So we're basically gonna reduce salaries to a very minimal amount and increase materials and services to cover the transfer of funds.
And I suppose OHP funds and GOBI funds.
Yeah, so Oregon Health Authority dollars, GOBI dollars, and just dollars that have been beginning fund balance or, carryover. So all of those. And, yeah, even the money we had set aside as a reserve, and according to the agreement, we're sending to them too. They maintain all risk and liability of those prior concerns. So I'll have that resolution ready.
Is that inclusive of the reserve that's been set aside for about 8 or 9 years, now 10 years?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, there's,
just so we fully understand that.
that's, I will double check with Jay in the agreement, but my understanding is we are transferring all dollars to them. They will assume all liabilities.
Okay.
So they're taking on that risk, even if it's prior operation.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
And that'll be for action tomorrow.
Yeah, then we can transfer that as soon as. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I'd like to mention that public hearing is still open on the Smith Museum supplemental budget. On to other items, ordinance number 115, urban growth boundary, Red Rock. Can you give a brief on that, Darwin?
We've had many hearings, obviously, before the Board of Commissioners, and prior to that, Planning Commission, joint with the town, and where some of the counties decisions. Last Thursday, the town adopted a new ordinance that included the complete set of findings. A couple weeks prior to that, on the 16th of August, I believe was the date, they had adopted an ordinance that only referenced the original draft findings that Red Rock had proposed that had been reviewed by both bodies. So, being anticipated by Red Rock that this could be appealed, they needed to include a complete set of findings, which was talked about at the July 28th meeting, that they would prepare, that we would review and then adopt. Those findings have been in the county's possession then since an email on the morning of the 16th of August, and we reviewed those. They were minor changes really to the original draft findings, just really going over the opposition. What you have before you now is draft of ordinance 115. I do have just a couple comments to the draft. Again, this draft has been reviewed by Jim Bailey and each of you. There's just a couple just things that I wanted to reference, and I'll give you a copy of just the track changes from this ordinance to what you had before. So, and you'll see in red the difference between what you had before and what you have now in front of you. Is Jim Bailey on the phone or not?
No.
He's not. Okay.
Throw one on the copy too.
Yeah. Here, so the red is this is probably something. So the red is showing you just the differences. There's only main differences is just legal descriptions were prepared by Darrell Anderson's office, which just were real good, solid from a surveyor that will show us the boundary that we've all talked about, and we all have agreed upon. But those are included as exhibits A for the inclusion properties and exhibit B for the exclusion properties. And the only other major change is just a reference to the complete set of findings, which is 113 pages, which is now exhibit C. Other than that, just an update to the change and just one quick line that says, that you guys are adopting these supplemental findings and conclusions of law as exhibit C. Really not anything substantive change than what we've been discussing in the intent of this ordinance all along.
So Darwin, this has been reviewed by legal counsel with everything that's in red, and he says this is okay within our ordinance number 115 for this to be added to it, correct?
He didn't say anything to the negative on that.
Okay.
He has had these noted changes in his possession since Tuesday of last week, with no comment back as to
Okay, was you able to make contact with him this morning?
Not this morning, no. And I thought maybe he was doing it online, but.
So, just so that we make sure that we get this correct, that this is allowable, means we've already had 2 hearings on ordinance number 115. And I do know that my motion, whenever at the end of the hearing, is that my motion was inclusive of the final findings to be contingent upon the final findings. So I believe that all follows the guidelines and makes it correct. I would just like to make sure with legal counsel that there's addition of this red lettering in here, that he says, puts a thumbs up. We want to make sure this is correct. So we might have to take a minute, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, and get a hold of him or get him on the phone, make sure that.
Well, this is on tomorrow's,
No, it was acted on today.
just today.
So as you're still in session, let me just break away and I'll go and catch him on the phone.
Yeah, these are pretty minor changes, but we can
Yeah,
do this up.
they're just showing us the legal descriptions ultimately, and then like you said, Brad,
My
Commissioner,
motion,
sorry,
I'm just Brad, you can help me, Brad, that's fine.
that we're, it's absolutely the intent of the ordinance, how it's supposed to read all along. And that's why the town has been so far behind, is that they adopted something that wasn't correct as well. We certainly gotta make sure we adopt the correct set of findings, and this references those, so.
Yeah, and I just
So
want
he'll
to,
agree, but let me go just confirm.
there's quite a project within our community, and we want to make sure that there's no room for any appeals because we didn't do procedure absolutely correct. So, if we can take 5, or we can call legal counsel, probably be better to do offline and him to review that.
And I'll send him the edited version of the results.
We're gonna go ahead and cover the other items, while we're looking at, if we need to find that break, I take it. Single trip permit authorization.
That's you, Christie, come on
We
up.
have you
I
here for
didn't
that,
turn it.
Christie.
Come on up, Christie.
I can share my copy with you. There's only 2
You're not
of us
quite
here.
as shy as you used to be, you're doing good.
Yeah. Good for the newspaper and people in the audience, you can give a little brief of what this is.
This is just renewing an over-dimension permit
So that we're new and existing.
for our county roads.
Yeah, Christie had brought this forward. This is something we do every year. This is just in an intergovernmental agreement. I believe we do it every year. Is it renewed every year, Christie, or is it longer than
I
that?
think it's longer.
Yes.
Yeah, it might be longer than that. I haven't seen the date for sure, reviewed enough of the date. But anyways, for the single trip permit authorization. So we actually have it on the agenda to act on tomorrow. It's nothing major, but we might as well leave something on for our meeting tomorrow in Silver Lake.
This is our 10-year.
This is a 10-year, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of not counted this in 9.5 years, I think.
So it's to act on tomorrow. Legal counsel's reviewed it, I believe. You said it, legal counsel, and no comments, so we can act on that tomorrow, Mr. Chairman. Aren't you glad you came up just for that?
I am.
Thanks, Christie. And with that, any department updates,
Yeah.
liaisons updates, you give
Yeah, we can sort of tag team on the road department, I guess. Last week, they was able to finalize the chip seal on the federal highways project out on Plush Road, or Hart Mountain Road. And the overlay's done, the chip seal's done. Our shooter for our oil was slower than what we expected, so we ended up with a little bit of overtime. But the guys deserve everything they got on top of that, but I had a few phone calls because they were very late nights. They were 8, 9 o'clock getting in a couple nights. Sounds like the oil done pretty good. We was skeptical.
The oil was good, but the shooter was very slow.
Very slow.
And the tanks were smaller.
Tanks were smaller, so the guys had some pretty long days, but they got it done. We're gonna be transitioning it. They've already done one culvert up on Dog Lake Lane. We'll be transitioning over to doing culverts up on Dog Lake Lane and starting to do some work up there. Christie's got quotes on some gabions. We get started on that part of it. We got the preliminary engineering from the engineer firm for Dog Lake Lane. Delbert, Dusty, Christie's been going over those, made a couple of suggestions or thoughts. I've been going over them. This week, tomorrow, the application deadline for the road superintendent, roadmaster's position will end tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We have several applicants. So then us as a board of commissioners will be doing interviews, hopefully, if we can get a schedule together the following week. Not this week, but hopefully next week. What am I
Chip
missing?
seal, water users.
What?
They paved
Oh, yes.
water users, so they'll chip seal that, and that will be done.
Yep, and that's the last chip seal we'll do this fall, right?
And then we'll be doing nothing but
When will they be
culverts.
doing that, chip seal?
They didn't say. I'm not sure.
So, anyways, The crew's doing good out there. They're ready for us to get on with the interview process and get somebody hired at
Yeah.
the same time, so.
On Gabriel Rock, did Jim Mood come in and speak?
Yes,
with you?
Jim had a colorful conversation with me, yes. But after reviewing everything of the recommendation and the bid that we went out with and accept, or the quote we went out, it still stands. Had a very good conversation with Jim, and we'll make sure he's aware of any other rock crushing bids that go on.
Anything else on the road?
I don't know, I'm forgetting some things. Well, one real positive thing is, wow, the asphalt that they put down, that the general fund paid for out at the fairgrounds is very appreciated by many.
Yep.
I didn't hurt myself once in a while.
I didn't see you out there.
They just do such great work, and that was, the vendors and the public alike really appreciated that being cleaned up out there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was a liability that needed to happen.
It is just insurance on the ground, is what it was. Am I missing anything, Christie? All of our grader operators want you to do the rain dance so they can grade the roads and get some moisture on those roads so they can get them.
I'll check my calendar when I have a free opportunity, and we'll share that date with them.
Okay.
Ginger, do you have anything on economics? Let's go ahead.
Let me think. Well, we're meeting on Friday in Paisley with a group from Christmas Valley and Paisley, northern part of the county, a new group calling themselves We Can, that want to develop some strategies for tourism to increase their visitors and therefore economic development in the north end of the county. And it's really brand new. I have worked with them a little bit. They were very integral in the business class that we had in Christmas Valley here about a month and a half ago, getting people there and getting the word out. And although the class was small, it was better attended than I think maybe we anticipated, and it also touched on some different business areas that are possible in that area. And I think as a result of that, other people have heard about it, and so they want to do it again. But this group, I think, has a lot of energy, and there's some good people behind it, and they're being very thoughtful of how they're moving forward. So and they're reaching out, wanting to establish a good organizational structure. So I'm really hopeful for them. Our AmeriCorps volunteer has arrived in the community. He's settling in. His name is Will. I can't think of his last name right. Will Wright. He's
You
here
got it
this
right.
week to get, yeah, that's right. And he is settling in this week to get all ready to go and hit the ground next week. Actually working, he'll be in Eugene the end of this week for an orientation for all of the rare AmeriCorps volunteers in the state, working with the Community Development Department at the University of Oregon. So we're really excited about him being involved in the downtown efforts and in Lakeview and economic development type things, so that's exciting. That's all I can think of that's right at the top of the list right now. The Juniper folks are trying to get themselves moved in. Lakeview Reclaimed Lumber out at the wood grain facility. It's kind of slow, but sure.
I'd sure like to get introduced to them sometime.
Yeah, I think you met them that one time when you brought them down to my office, but absolutely. They have been actually gone more than they've been here for the last month or so. They've been kind of hard to catch up with. But I'm going to try to reach them today. I'll arrange something. I'll talk to you and get, sometimes it'll work for you. We'll do that.
That'd be great.
We'll get them in to talk to each one of you anyway, so.
Yeah, the primary sponsor wanted to kind of keep things quiet for a while, but now it's.
Yeah, now
they'd be happy
they're ready to,
disclose.
now they're ready to hit the ground. They're also, we're working with them through the Juniper Alliance. It's a technical assistance organization that is through Sustainable Northwest to help Juniper projects get their feet on the ground and get going. And also with Business Oregon. So not only do they have a bit of a learning curve about Juniper and how to work with it and all that, but they also have a learning curve about the business model. And fortunately, we have a good technical assistance team that's able to help them and others. It's not just about them, it's also others, and how to work with BLM and with the public, in Forest Service and with public, as well as private landowners, on how to take care of our juniper that's gonna be marketable, hopefully.
Well, I've been hit up several times in the public about them, and I have zero knowledge about them at all, but apparently they're doing the mats also.
Yes, they purchased the mats that were used on the Ruby pipeline, and they are still in the process of deciding what is, what all is gonna be milled with that, or what they're gonna do with it. Like I said, they're really in the baby stages. I don't think they really wanted to get into how they were gonna do everything and what was gonna happen until they got the facility, until they were really sure that they had that secure. And now that that's done, I think they're more
So
on
did
the
they
ground.
purchase all the property from the wood grain site?
That's my understanding, yes.
Have they been in contact with our railroad and where there's a Y there that?
Yes, they have. Yeah, they have been.
Did
in
that
touch
all
with the
get
railroad.
taken care of?
That's my understanding, that they have had their conversations, they're working on it, yes. Yeah, because they do have that only turnaround.
It's the only place we can turn around and take
Exactly.
a train there. Over the years, there's been quite a lot of discussion over that.
Right. Right.
Hopefully that's all.
I don't think they've completed any kind of discussions or agreements, but they have begun that. I think they were, like I said, they were waiting to make sure that they actually owned it before they got into all the details. They really couldn't finalize anything until that happened, and that just happened, I believe, last week.
So it's all public info now.
Yeah.
And if we can utilize juniper wood instead of just burning it, would be a great asset for us. But getting them introduced to various landowners would be
Right.
a little task ahead of us. And it shouldn't compete too awfully much with the Red Rock Battlefield, because all they're looking for, well, it will to some extent. But they're just looking for the main trunk ball of the trees, so we still got all the slash. That has to be taken care of.
I think by the timeframe of the cycle of the woody biomass and everything, I think both companies will be fine.
Yeah.
By the time the Red Rock gets through their 20-year cycle or whatever, it's grown back enough to keep them going. Even on this dry eastern
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. Timber is very slow growing, but I predict a lot of rain in the future.
Mm.
I can predict anything, but weather forecasters do.
I would like for it to wait for my tomatoes to get ripe.
Yes. Any other updates, anything for us, Denise?
We have our special transportation review next week on Tuesday, so we'll see how that goes. Trucking along.
I'll give a little update. Where I was at last week is the NTIA, National Telecommunication Information Administration, FCC, Federal Communication Commission Conference. It's the last conference they haven't. They've been moving around the United States, and we've dealt with the USDA on telecommunication pretty extensively, and we got some inroads with them, but the NTIA is a larger communication source of funding. And what SCOED and we're working on is trying to get our internet over to Warner Valley, and also working with MoDOT County to get it over into Surprise Valley. And maybe piggyback cell phone service and FirstNet emergency responder on top of that. And I brought back some good info on, because they require a kind of a questionnaire, you might say. You have to answer all the questions before they even entertain, so once I get my truck cleaned out, I'll share those with you. But there's one contact, hopefully I can follow up with a guy from ComNet back on the East Coast. May have some very useful suggestions on getting our internet over to Warner Valley. So it was a long trip, but a little connection networking is what counts sometimes. Otherwise, I'll be around here rest of this week. We do have a Friday meeting in Paisley with the Christmas Valley folks and our local chamber folks. Next week would be kind of tight if we're looking at interviewing, but I'll work that out with.
Well, next Friday, you have what meeting?
This Friday?
Oh, this Friday.
Yeah. Next Friday is actually my one open date for next week.
Yeah, next Friday I've got executive act, but, I'll have Denise put together and
Yeah.
try to figure out which days work.
You'll be here Tuesday?
Should be here Tuesday, I think.
I think you're here Tuesday.
Yes. At least part of Tuesday. We're trying to meet up with another telecommunication person on the afternoon of Tuesday, but we haven't made that connection yet. Anything else, Andy?
No, Darwin's back, maybe we,
So Jim's out of the office all day today. I've left a message on his cell phone. Went through my emails again, just to see if he sent any response, since even August 16th, and I've actually had no response from him, but sent him emails on the 16th that showed the updated findings, complete findings, but I haven't had anything from him. So.
Well, looking at the things that are very minor,
Yeah,
although still, as Commissioner Lynn said, maybe we could just prove it because one little loophole
sure.
could trip us with opposition to it. We'd like to carry this over to tomorrow.
I think that's very appropriate. I don't think Red Rock will delay anything. They have other things going on, and we'll just notify them that we're going to carry it on to our meeting tomorrow. I think that's very appropriate to make sure. They're very minor changes, and like I say, my motion should cover everything, but just because there has been small position and different things.
No, one day's not gonna cost us anything,
No, let's carry it over.
so carry that over. Anything for executive?
Not today.
Anything else, Commissioner?
You'll need to close the hearing for this meeting.
Going to?
That's the only thing. You probably remember that already.
Yep. I was just about to say that, if you have nothing else, lay us on. I'll close the hearing on the Smith Museum supplemental budget.
Wait, one second. Mr. Bailey has sent me an email. Ordinance looks fine, changes are not significant, merely what we call scrivener corrections. So, if you want to.
Yeah. We'll back off and turn this forward to tomorrow.
If we got his approval, I will, you just close the hearing, so we'll go on. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'll make a motion in the matter of changes to the Lakeview Urban Growth Boundary Comprehensive Plan map and zone change. The Board of Commissioners of Lake County, Oregon ordains as follows. Ordinance number 115, and I'm not going to read all the ordinance, but there.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion beyond that? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Perfect.
Now we move on with Red Rock. They're still planning a October 19th.
I can't confirm that date right now, but yes, soon they hope to be breaking ground and start construction.
If no other business, meeting's over. 9:30. One of our shoulders.